it's going to be different. It's going to be tough, for our seniors as well as for coach not to be able to be present here and to see them their last home game. So it's going to be it's going to be a little different situation, but.
All right, welcome in. That was Howard Isley, Michigan assistant, Michigan offensive coordinator, if you will, on it being senior night. Welcome in. It is the Maize and Blue Review Afternoon Live. I'm Dennis Fithian, and I'm joined by the beat writer for TMBR, and that's Daniel Dash, who is with us here and ready to go. What's up, Daniel?
Nothing much. How about you?
Well, it's senior night. Oh, that could be it could be a very special night. Now you think about a guy like Eli Brooks. If everything goes as planned, Michigan gets this one put away with like 5 minutes to go, and you get the curtain calls. You get Nunez in there like he was last game against Michigan State, and you get Johns out there and give him the curtain call, and then the last one is Eli Brooks. Maybe he kisses the floor, bids everybody adieu, and it's a great night. So what are the chances that's going to happen?
We'll see. I think it's going to be a close game tonight, but I think back to Isaiah Livers bending down, doing a push-up, kissing the floor. He said that Muhammad Ali Abdur-Rahman always said he would. Then on his senior night, he didn't. So on the morning of Isaiah Livers' senior night, he texted Mar, said, "Hey, I'm going to do this." Went down, did it. We'll see if it starts a trend. I think it's very possible.
Well, what about you? You got any plans? Anybody there at the Daily got any plans for, a senior night for the writers there? Are you going to do any push-ups, kissing the media table there? That doesn't sound like something else. What else? What do you got cooked up?
No, but it's going to be hard to say goodbye to Don, the usher who works the media row at Chrysler. Does a fantastic job. Real interactive, always makes an effort to get to know the writers and the media, especially the students. He comes up to my hip, pretty short guy, but I think it's going to be a tough goodbye there.
I don't know if he's as short as Phil Martelli was making out Mr. Brackets there, talking about from ESPN. He called him 5'1". I had to look it up, and it said Joe Lenardi's 5'11", but then I saw that he went to St. Joe's, and he's a Philly guy, so Martelli was making a joke at his expense, which I liked. I don't know if you're, doing that with the usher there. He really is that short. Well, what do you think's at stake tonight? Like, it seems like this is more than seeding. Michigan's not comfortably in the tournament, so there's a little bit at stake here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been pretty clear the last couple of weeks leading up to this moment that Michigan's pretty squarely on the bubble. Right now, I think they're pretty clearly on the right side of the bubble, but with a trip to Ohio State on Sunday, a home game against Iowa, who's top 20 on KenPom tonight, that could change quickly with 2 losses. The benchmark that we've been talking about for the better part of the last month is get to 11 conference wins, win a game in the Big Ten tournament, and you're probably pretty safely into the NCAA tournament. You probably avoid Dayton altogether at that point too. You finish with 10 wins and you're a first-round bounce in the Big Ten tournament, or you only win 1 game in the Big Ten tournament. You're leaving it to chance. You might end up as a last 4 in. That just makes the path a lot harder to play on Thursday night before everyone else starts. And I think if you're Michigan, you really need to go out and get at least one of these final 2 regular season games, take care of business in your first Big Ten tournament game, and then things are looking up from there.
I'm with you. I know Jerry Palm, who does his own brackets, I think for CBS, he always does the bare standard, the floor, to getting in. You got to be 4 games above 500. That would Michigan ends up getting a win that satisfies it as well. And what you're talking about with the conference record, that would be good. When you look, I put a couple things up here, some questions to ask you while got you here, and you got the senior night. 2 weeks ago, Michigan won at Iowa, and that was Moussa Diabate going for a career high 28 points. Michigan's got a lot of good things that are going for him right now. I don't want everybody to feel so good about him, like, it sounds like they're going to make some kind of run, but you just had Dickinson doing what he did against the Spartans. Michigan just got some bench production, and Caleb Houston's playing well, and I'd say same thing about Devontae Jones. I mean, there's a lot of things to look at for Michigan. I don't know if they're peaking at the right time, but there's certainly a lot of things to point to like about Michigan.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think a lot of guys are rounding into form at the right time. Obviously, under John Beilein, this is a team that always got hot this week of the year. Going into March, they were always playing their best basketball. We'll see if it's the same under Juwan Howard, which is weird to say right now without Juwan Howard. I think that they really just need to stay afloat and win one of these last two games. And I think if you're Michigan, the most encouraging thing about that proposition is that you've discovered so many new ways to win these past few weeks. Devontae Jones playing his best basketball of the year, Hunter Dickinson breaking records, Moussa Diabate, you mentioned in Iowa City, put up a career high 28, shot 12 of 15 from the floor. I don't know if you're Iowa, how you come up with an answer to stop that in a 2-week turnaround. I think Michigan has a lot of different ways they can attack the Hawkeyes defense tonight, which I will add is not a very good defense at all.
No.
And I think especially in the front court, Iowa's biggest defensive weakness is guarding the rim. Michigan's biggest offensive strength, attacking the rim. I think if they can do that, they can collapse the defense, kick out to Caleb Houston, who shoots really well at Chrysler Center, has been shooting really well overall lately. I think if you're Howard Isley and thinking about Michigan's offense, there are a lot of ways to go out and win this game.
I mentioned Isley and we mentioned Martelli, the acting head coach right now, and there's going to be it's an unusual situation with Juwan Howard not here at the tail end. So, the people aren't just sitting back saying, "Oh, well, I'll just see what happens." They're reading into everything, that could possibly go on. What's the shooting percentage with Juwan, without Juwan? Who's running things? Is it Martelli? Is it Isley? What's going on here? This is a better situation. If Michigan was 1-2, the conversation would be like, why did this team fall apart like this? And how much blame should the entire staff, starting with Juwan Howard, get, especially with the suspension that this team looks like they're not going to make the NCAA tournament. So I'm all right. You having some of these arguments like who gets the credit here, and that's the one here on the bottom. What's been different here in the 3 games without Juwan Howard in your mind?
Frankly, the offense, I think everything's just been a little bit more efficient. On the season, they're averaging 72 points per game. That ranks 6th in the Big Ten. In these past 3 games, they've put up, I believe it was 71 on Rutgers, 85 on Illinois, and then 87 on Michigan State. I don't think that's a product of Juwan being out and Isley taking over. I think they're just shooting the ball really well. And a couple of guys have said it. Devontae Jones was very adamant about it after that first win over Rutgers. They're playing for Juwan Howard right now. I think you see it in the black socks that they're wearing and the black tights to honor the Fab Five. Really just standing with their head coach, and they're going out, and even in his absence, they're putting their best foot forward for him. I can only imagine how Juwan feels watching these games from his couch. I'm sure it's not easy, but to know that he's got a whole roster of guys playing for him, I think that's got to be comforting. And I think if you're Michigan, being on the bubble is enough motivation, but being on the bubble while playing for your head coach in a program that preaches family as much as Michigan does, I think that's a really big difference maker.
Yeah, and Howard Isley made a point in his news conference there to say, look, yeah, he was calling to check on Juwan Howard just because it's a tough time for him. And Hunter Dickinson said that he stopped by, I think before Tuesday's game, stopped by Howard's house over there. So the coach isn't there on the sideline. He's in all these guys' thoughts and they're thinking about it. And Martelli, people saying Michigan's better with Howard Martelli. They have been home here. And if Martelli had gone out there, and let's say Devontae Jones didn't get into foul trouble against Michigan State, and he just had Frankie Collins in the first 5 minutes of the game and left him in, and you'd say, wow, well, that's pushing a button that Juwan wouldn't have done. But Terrence Williams came in and made 3 threes. I don't know. It's Martelli sprinklers. I don't know what Isley's putting on, what kind of card he's or what they drew up there. It just looked like the Williams, the ball came to him, and he fired, and he started making them. That doesn't seem there's nothing there. And I ask you that, like, is there anything tangible that you could look at, rotation wise, any kind of plays, ISOs, or anything they could say Martelli and company have done in these 3 games?
No, I think overall they really stick to the rule that if you pick up 2 fouls in the first half, you're glued to the bench until the halftime buzzer. I will add with Williams, I thought it was interesting. In his first game back from suspension against Illinois, he didn't play in the first half. His first minutes came after halftime. And then you see against Michigan State, he gets a chance in the first half, and you see what he does with it. Comes off the bench, no hesitation, 3 triples, cans them all. Brandon Johns comes off the bench, shoots three almost immediately, swish. Like, these are guys, and I understand the notion of, getting up for a rivalry game. I think there's credibility to that, especially in Michigan's position on the bubble, a revenge game against Michigan State after they got run out of Breslin Center in the second half earlier this year. But I don't think there's anything tangible that Martelli's doing that Juwan wasn't. I don't think that they've discovered anything, totally revolutionary in Juwan Howard's absence. I think a lot of it is just, guys playing their best basketball in March, or, guys dialing into a game plan because they understand the high stakes.
And yet, if they win tonight, they'll have back-to-back victories, and they didn't do that. And I don't think in all of February. It's been a win-loss type situation.
Yeah, not since the Purdue game, I believe February 10th when they played Purdue.
So that's a pretty big deal then to string together the victories, and then if somehow they were able to do it Sunday, not that there'd be more examination. This very conversation that we're having, I'm sure on CBS, that'd be around. I think that's probably where the game is against Ohio State. Coming up Sunday, they'd be like, well, okay, what's going on here? Seth Davis, what's Clark Kellogg without the coach then? And then when Juwan comes back, it'll be a week from today, the Big Ten tournament, the first games, those first four on a Wednesday, but then Michigan will be playing maybe this time on Thursday, and Juwan Howard, that'll be a story. He's back and how they do there. So like that part, it's omnipresent, whatever way it goes in these kind of conversations. Depending on what happens tonight, depending on what happens Sunday, you're going to build a case either way for this.
Right, and I think that's wrong. I think people are reading into it a little more than they should. This Michigan program is really steady. It's a team that's been to 2 Final Fours in the past 10 years, a team that went to the Elite Eight last year, won the Big Ten outright, locked up a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. It's a really healthy program. Have they taken a step back this year? Yeah. If they miss the tournament, will that be the defining takeaway of the season? It will be. But I think in general, Juwan Howard has a fantastic staff, and he knows that he has a fantastic staff. And I think a lot of that comes down to who he was looking for and what he was looking for in assistant coaches when he took the Michigan job 3 years ago. There's a reason the staff has stayed intact. They work really well together. That was another point Isley made in his news conference yesterday. I think the word he used was synergy. And I heard Sadie Washington use that word last week too. I think they just work exceedingly well together. They build really, really good game plans. It's 3 guys with a lot of experience. Obviously, Martelli with 4.5 decades of coaching experience. Sadie Washington's been coaching, I believe, 16 years. Isley played in the NBA for 12 years, coached there another 9 years. He's in year 3 at Michigan. It's just a lot of guys who know their stuff and know how to keep the team afloat and know how to put their guys in the best position to win. And I think even in Juwan Howard's absence, that still shines through.
And for Juwan Howard, when he hired Phil Martelli, there were a lot of people like, oh, the Phil Martelli's really the coach, and Juwan, is going to be standing up there on the sideline. And Juwan was confident enough in, his own coaching ability and his own leadership, where he got a guy with experience. Like, he knew that, that would be talked about. And you never planned that you're going to get thrown out at the, during the stretch run of a season. And even though Isley and Washington, I think Washington has turned down a job, I think maybe at his alma mater, Western. Yep. Yeah. So, those guys could have gone in there and everything could have been fine. But having somebody has 24 years as a head coach, you mentioned all that experience that he's had, that part, it struck me on Tuesday. I mean, Tom Izzo's, been coaching almost 25 years. And if it would have been, the rookie coaches over there against the stalwart in Tom Izzo, and it wasn't like you had Martelli over there. He's almost coached, been a head coach as long as Tom Izzo. So this thing has worked out well. And for Martelli's, to his credit, from day one, he has always been like, this is Juwan. You guys, there's no story here. And he's been adamant about that. So it's worked out, and we'll see if they get it going and they win tonight. I think a lot of people, and rightfully so, will have a feeling like, hey, you know what? Maybe this team can make the weekend in Indianapolis. Maybe this team can, not just show up in the NCAA tournament. Maybe they can get a win or two. Yeah.
And I think that that's still very possible. And I think you look at the way that they've played in these past few weeks. They were 7-3 going into 7-3 in their last 10 going into Wisconsin before this kind of hit the fan with the suspensions. But I think they've gotten back on their feet. And I think tonight is sort of a fork in the road of whether they'll continue on that upward trajectory, get another really good home win, quad one, or if they take a step back, as they have following every win over the past few weeks. If you're going to commit to this upward trajectory and you're going to, really put all the pieces of the puzzle together, tonight's a really good night to show it.
Well, you know what they always say about the fork in the road when one of those presents itself? Take it. You know what? I made predictions in these games without looking at the lines first. And the other night, I had Michigan. The line was a little bit like where I had them covering, and I didn't even know that. And then it went up where I didn't have them, and then I made the prediction of Michigan winning by 2 when the line was only 1.5, and now it's gone up to 2.5. Maybe they're reading my predictions on the Mason Blue Review, and up in the number here. But what kind of score? Or, I don't know if you made the official prediction, but what are you thinking about for tonight?
No, I haven't. I would give Michigan the edge. I think Michigan's front court prowess is enough to overwhelm Iowa. Iowa's going to need to shoot the ball really well to stay in a game like this. And, the daunting part for Michigan is that they're capable of doing exactly that. Michigan struggled to guard Keegan Murray for much of that first meeting in Iowa City. Murray ended up getting hurt down the stretch in that game. He did re-enter, but he didn't look like he was at 100%. This is a guy who's still very much playing for the Big Ten Player of the Year award. And I think he's going to do his best to put on a show tonight. Michigan started off last game with Moussa Diabate guarding Keegan Murray. I'll be watching whether they do that again tonight. That's definitely something to keep an eye on as the game starts and Michigan falls into defensive sets. I think tonight's a night where they're going to go to the zone a lot, or at least when they start the possession in zone and then they fade into man-to-man. I think that's really disruptive for an offense that's so powerful and, hums so quickly as Iowa's. This is a team that, scores in the 80s, scores in the 90s relatively effortlessly. So it's going to be a really big test for Michigan's defense. But I do think that Moussa Diabate, Hunter Dickinson staying out of foul trouble, dominating the offensive end, being active on the glass, I think that's enough to swing the pendulum in Michigan's favor. As for a final score, I think this is a game that's going to be played in the high 70s, low 80s. Pretty similar to the first matchup in Iowa City, actually. I'll go 82-78 Michigan.
I like it. All right. Enjoy the game. Reminder for people that you'll know this if you're a member of the Maize and Blue Review. Daniel will have his 3 takeaways right after the game. That pops up pretty quick. I'm surprised at how you're able to get that up there. And we'll be on here on TMBR TV following the game as well. And so it's a 9:00 tip. So we're talking about maybe around 11:15 here tonight. Any final thoughts?
Late night. I will add, follow Zach Libby on Twitter and follow his live thread along the message board for live updates from Chrysler tonight.
Yeah, I pop in there once in a while too and make some kind of exclamatory comment. It's fun.
Oh yeah.
All right, Daniel, enjoy the game. We'll be looking for your stuff here tonight. We always appreciate your time.
Thanks a lot, Dennis. Talk to you soon.
All right, there you go. And everybody else, enjoy the game. We'll be on afterwards. We'll talk to you then. And until then,